Computer. Hello and welcome to Planet Watch with Mary Jane Staudenmann. Seems like we've got another big month coming up for us. Mary Jane, welcome.
Yes, we do. Hello, and welcome to you, and welcome to all of you out there. Glad to see you back with us.
Yeah, so we've got some pretty big things coming up, right? You wanted to talk a bit about the energies of what's going on, and then as we move into Sagittarius.
Right, exactly. This will be a month that's a little bit calmer. It makes a little more sense, maybe, than the month we're coming out of. We're finishing up in Scorpio that was really sloppy. I'm kind of glad to see the end of all this. Uh, aren't we all a little bit weary? Um, no, the Sagittarian energy is quite different. First of all, this is a mutable sign. It's going in a lot of different directions. It's a fire sign. There's a lot of excited energy involved in Sagittarius. Now, said the Sagittarius in itself is directed toward accomplishment. It's a sign that indicates adventure. It indicates growth, expansion. It'll send you off on vacation. It'll send you off traveling, doing adventurous stuff, inward and outward. Now, the beauty of it is that you can do a lot of this traveling at home and in your own head, because Sagittarius also is involved with abstract thinking, therefore continuing education, building your skills, building your professional skills. Go back to school, get involved in archaeology, get involved in whatever's turning you on right now, and just go for it. Go ahead for it. Set high goals. Sagittarius energy is extremely optimistic and extremely um, goal extended. We want to accomplish things in Sagittarius. So have a good time. I think this is the best way to use this quiet time at home, is just doing our homework.
That's a good point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've used Doreen Virtue Oracle cards. I love them. The
Uh
life purpose card, there's a card in there that's travel. But really,
huh.
the travel card is just using the internet, using your imagination, and doing
That's
all
it,
this exploration
for
by
sure.
virtually.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. There are a lot of exciting things we can get going on right here and right now, without having to spend any money on a plane tickets. Which was really exciting.
Well, especially now with COVID going on,
Yes,
you know.
well, too. And I speak of continuing education and so on because the ninth sign, the ninth house as well in astrology, is devoted to higher thinking, abstract thinking. We're getting involved in philosophy and psychology and all kinds of high flown ideas, actually. And it's a very good time to be continuing, perfecting your existing talents, your existing skills.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful.
schooling is important in here.
Hmm. And so there were a few key dates that you said were important.
Yeah, yeah, we're coming up fast on them. In fact, as soon as we get the sun going into Sagittarius, which is the 22nd of November.
Mhm.
So right away, we the month starts with the sun and Mars looking a little bit anxious toward each other. Although we're getting into a sort of an angry mode, a fighting mode. How to use um, this colère, this anger, how to use this scrapping spirit to our best advantage. It's going to be just starting the month like that.
Oh,
This winds up and it gets really hot around from the 30th of November until the 5th of December. We have the sun in a very, very scrappy aspect to our friendly planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto down there in Capricorn. He's just looking for a fight, just looking for a fight and wanting to challenge the very staid, very old power struggle that's always been involved in these three planets in Capricorn, as we've seen for all these many months. So this Sagittarian sun is coming up and saying, wait a minute, I don't think so. And in Sagittarius, This is a sign of litigation as well as of contestation. We're going to go out and say, no, it's not going to happen like that. And this is when we file for divorce, and this is when we file for a new contract oversight, and a lot of other things happening in unions, in all kinds of otherwise respectable and very legalistic kind of institutions, but the gloves are on. Now we're saying, all right, let's get down and get some changes made here. This is going to be especially important as the moon gets kind of involved in here on the 4th of December. So this is when we're going to see a lot of news about challenges to, well, and we've seen this in the election already, in the general election in the United States. The challengers are coming up left and right. It's all going to be going on in this first week in December.
Oh,
Things are settling down a little bit, or getting a little more organized as we go into the month. On the 11th of December, the sun is going to be joined with Mercury, and in a nice trine. This is a nice polite angle or useful angle between the sun and Mars. Finally, we're getting over this sort of standing in a corner and getting your boxing gloves out and so on. They're finally getting together and getting their energy organized to get ahead with these other planets and get some things done as far as litigation, as far as, again, these contests coming up. Now, there's one hick to this particular date. These two planets, the sun and Mercury with Mars, are going to be square to Neptune. Now, when this happens, you're going really fast, and it's though you didn't have any brakes on.
oh dear.
So I'm saying, yes, you're going to go, you're hit the ground running, but you don't necessarily know where you're going. So you just have to watch where you're directing your energies, where you're directing your anger, where you're directing your car. This is going to be an excellent time for people to be getting speeding tickets and bad parking tickets, and all kinds of, well, accidents can happen too in here. So I'm saying be really careful with that in mind. It's otherwise a very good day as far as getting ahead. Just be careful where you're going. It's my basic idea on the subject. Now, things are warming up and getting very interesting on the 14th of December, between the 14th and the 16th. This is a period of the new moon as well in Sagittarius. And here we're going, these planets that have been in a dogfight for the last few weeks are finally getting into attack mode. You've got all your arguments lined up. You've got the people on your side. You've got your rights on your side. And go ahead and get whatever done it needs doing, get it done during this period of the new moon. It's going to be hot. And this is also a great time to be signing up for that as archaeology class or advanced photography or whatever you're getting involved in. The new moon is important to get energy off the ground. It's a wonderful period for that.
Now, and in the United States, we've got this election, and the results for some reason are being contested. People are like wanting to investigate it, et cetera, et cetera. Things are a little wacky, and we've got the Electoral College is convening December 13. And
Right, it's perfect.
so is that a good time for them to be doing that?
Oh yeah, well, it's the only time it's the only time we can work it in, and I think it's going to be good on the cusp of this new moon. We're working into this, and yeah, I think it's the only time that they'll get to say, well, what needs saying. Finally, the dice have been thrown, and what's done is done by then. So I don't think there's going to be any residual fighting left to be doing. But so with this in mind, I think we can use this new moon.
Good to know. Good to know.
This said, the fight goes on in the streets. The fighting is going on. Don't worry about that. Where as I said, with with Mars square to Neptune, these hard won diggers in are not going to give up anytime soon, and they're still off on their ideological trip, whatever that is, and they're not giving up these ideas anywhere very soon. However, I think when I say check where you're going at this time, they too are going to be just petering out. This energy so involved in protecting their president or whatever else, protecting their ideologies, is just finally going to run out of steam. Has to.
Good, good. Yeah. And then it looks like just the 17th and 19th in particular. So Jupiter and Aquarius doing big things. Yeah.
Oh,
What else can we
yeah, we're
expect
getting
during that
involved
time?
in that. I was going to save that for a little later, but let's get on because this is the hot subject of this month and the next 2 years to come. In fact, um, it's fascinating. Jupiter and Saturn are coming into the sign of Aquarius together, virtually together, on the 17th and the 19th of December. This is also going to be happening with Saturn in any case. This is also in conjunction with the moon, so it's a big personal move as well as being an overwhelming cultural move of civilization. Now, what happens with these two planets as they come into Aquarius, especially Saturn, but when it's accompanied with Jupiter, this is the time of reform. It happens once every 60 years, and that the two planets are moving at the same time into the same sign. So on this at a very regular basis, we're going to see a period of reform. This is perfect. In fact, with the new a new presidential administration, he's
Mhm.
got a lot on his plate. But every time it comes up, we have in 1900. This is so beautiful. What were they looking at in 1900? They were looking at healthcare. They were looking at public health. They were looking at FDA requirements was set up, in fact, in 1903 or something. They were looking for public housing. They were looking at infrastructure, building bridges and building roads and all the rest. Were coming under serious consideration by the government. Now, doesn't this sound familiar to us? We've
Mhm.
got all the same issues we've got to be looking at 120 years later, but still, we're doing it, and it's going to get done. It's not going to get done without stress, without pressure.
Right.
At the same time, there's a shock coming from Uranus that's in Taurus all this time. So these planets are going to have to convince the the old school the old school. Now, Uranus in Taurus is normally pretty excitable. You can turn people around. You can turn. There's a richness involved with new ideas, and the readiness is there. So it shouldn't be too difficult. But there is an old school involved, and you've got to convince the old school that these reforms are going to be not only necessary but possible.
Hmm.
We're talking about the Green New Deal. We're talking about all kinds of new cards that are on the table, and new ways of treating nature as well. It's going to be particularly important, which I think is going to be interesting to see, especially the new administration getting involved in the climate arguments again, climatic arguments again. This is going to be done. It's going to be done. It's going to be slow. And I think this new American president is not going to have an easy time with it.
Hmm.
Uh, he's got 2 years of total stress. And then there's a period of shock that sets in as Jupiter goes, as Saturn goes on into Neptune. There's a total confusion, and you're sort of wading through the muck for a couple of years. But then finally, things begin to hit the wall 5 years down the line. So we've got time to talk about this. But meanwhile, this initial movement, getting things going in Aquarius, which is always the sign of innovation, of invention, of science, of in industrial growth. So we're going to see a lot of things happening with these two planets, and we're just right on the brink of it right now as we're sitting here. So it's exciting times with that involved.
Oh, absolutely. Well, these are very interesting times indeed anyway.
Oof, mercy. Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. For all of us, we still have to look at this coronavirus. And I think this is not going to have any positive repercussions until at least until the spring and probably the summer. Now, as Saturn is going into its scientific sign of Aquarius, I think their movements and Jupiter as well, which is the planet of medicine after all. So we're finally going to get some breakthroughs happening uh, in December and into the new year, but nothing's going to be available for us until probably the late spring or summer.
Yeah, that's my gut feeling too.
Mm,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
very interesting. What does the climate look, the astrological climate look like for having a vaccine?
Um, I'm getting better convinced now that Saturn especially is moving finally and permanently into I say permanently. It did a retrogradation that took it back into Capricorn. Now it's going to be moving more solidly into Aquarius. And as this sets the pace for scientific discoveries and more serious clinical work, I think now we can start thinking that the vaccine, anything's coming out of laboratories this winter, are going to be more dependable than the ones we're looking at right now. For instance,
Oh,
I'm a little bit wary until we get something serious coming out of these new research clinics.
sure, sure. That makes sense. I mean, this is something that we're injecting into our bodies. We need to make sure that everything is safe and is going to be effective.
Exactly. And the problem here is that in the general rush, because it's a huge industrial question as well, obviously, everyone wants to get his vaccine out there. And I don't think that's the best way, in fact, to be doing something safe for ourselves. These things normally take months, even a year of clinical experimentation on human patients.
Yeah.
Uh, and nobody seems to be wanting to spend that much time just safeguarding their wonderful new inventions, their patents. So I don't know. I want to give these things some time myself. I'd rather stay home and wear my mask than shoot up with some product that hasn't been properly tested yet.
Right, right, right. Well, is there anything else that we need to know going into Sagittarius that would be important for us?
We have to think about toward the end of the year. Now Mars is going to be going direct. Mars is in retrogradation now and is doing some other kind of bizarre things along the line, as we saw. However, he's going to be going direct and is going to make a square to Pluto. He's coming square to those planets. Mars is already in Aries. He's already hyper nervous and ready to go off to war. Well, in the 23rd of December and toward even before, he's still sensitive to these planets from the 16th on. But as I said, Jupiter and Saturn are moving out of danger. So the Mars that's making a square is going to be less important, but he's still hitting on Pluto. And this is a very exciting time. Often when we see this kind of lineup in the sky, we can look for revolution. We can look for people throwing rocks in the street. We can look for all kinds of very physical outbursts of this classic wartime energy. And so I'm thinking this is a hard way to the end of the year. You might want to think carefully about where you're spending the new year, for instance. Uh, Probably on the country club plaza isn't the all-time best,
Right.
uh, just because there seems to be danger in the streets, quite literally. And well, Mars is also fever as well. This can take us into uh, being overly sensitive to the flu, to the coronavirus, to all the other stuff that's going on in the winter anyhow. So that's all. Mars is going to be hard there at the end of the year, around Christmas. So yeah, take care of yourselves. That's what I can say the best, actually.
Well, that's always a good thing to keep in mind. Take care of
Yes, it
yourself.
is. Yes, it is. And it's not always easy, especially when the fever's running high and we have things we want to argue about. We have a necessity to protect our interests, protect the last election, protect things that are going on around us. And this is happening on a personal basis as well.
Mhm.
So the fever's running high. People are excited. Stay calm, think about where you're going. I like to repeat this several
Mhm.
times. Even when you're going fast, you have to pay attention where you're going. So,
Yes, this is so true. Well, this is excellent advice. I always appreciate these reports because they just kind of give us some dates to look at and maybe make some adjustments, maybe move some appointments around that could be
true.
a little better
Exactly.
served by other energies. Just let us know that, well, on these particular days, that's not the best day to ask for a raise, not the best day to
Well, for
have that
instance,
important. Right, exactly. And I'd like to remind everybody, if you're watching, get your chart done. Absolutely. We've got a link in the show note or in the episode notes to schedule an appointment with Mary Jane. First,
sure.
you get a natal chart and get that's the roadmap, that's the blueprint. And then from there, well, Mary Jane, tell us about all the different types of charts that we can do.
Well, there are lots of things from the natal chart. I always incorporate immediately a horoscope for the year that's called a solar return. This is based on your birthday as the sun comes around to its natal position and gives us an idea for the year to come, what's on your cards, what's up for you, and how to handle these energies as they're going around in the sky. This becomes quite pointed and is especially good if you have some outstanding things you have to take care of, buying and selling and litigating and all the rest. This is a great way to look at those particular issues. From that, we can also, from the natal chart, we can also do comparative charts if you're involved in a partnership or marriage, whatever kind of partnership. There are comparative charts to do and a composite chart to do that shows us the essentially the mechanism of any given relationship. This is an amalgam of two different natal charts that show us it shows us basically how we're interacting, how people are interacting. This is excellent. We do election charts. This means picking dates for specific uh, interests, for specific actions. You want to pick a good date for a signature on a contract. You want to pick a good date for wedding. You want to pick a good date for a surgical intervention. All of these things can be decided and essentially put the energies on your side then to get the best possible reaction in your actions.
Yeah, yeah. We
Those are some of the big ones. We can do all kinds of little things on the side, but those are usually the things we're after when we start embroidering on the natal chart.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do offer a subscription based service. So once you have your solar return done, then you can get a subscription service where Mary Jane will look at your horoscope for each month based on that.
Right.
So much more
This
accurate than a newspaper.
Yes, for sure. And we can also do lunar returns, which are amazingly accurate to look at little details within a month. So we can really start pinpointing things you want to do. They won't always allow you to do them, but we can certainly find the best times to get ahead and to get going on your particular project. So
Yeah.
that's what it's about. Love to see you then.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Mary Jane, for joining me this month. We will be back with what's next, Capricorn?
Yep, we'll be back in Capricorn.
Excellent.